back with a review of Law of the Tropics, a 1941 Constant Bennett vehicle, because I am still on my Constant Bennett kick. I think I've got three more movies on that I got from TCM when they had a big Summer of the Stars and they had a whole Constant Bennett day. So I'm working my way through. This is later period Constant Bennett. There's earlier glamour height of her powers star, or height of her stardom at least, hair down, and then there is later kind of post code 40s hair up, where her career is being going into a decline. This is actually it's a pretty light drama, kind of romance movie. Apparently it's based on a book about what's it called? It's based on a book called Oil for the Lamps of China, a 1933 book. Though first thing that Hollywood does is relocate this from China to the Amazon. The Amazon jungle. And apparently there was a lot more about kind of the corporate greed and being loyal to your company, sort of that stuff, and that got backpedaled. I can see why, in favor of the romance between Constance Bennett and her co-star Jeffrey Lynn, as this fellow who he thinks he's getting married. He goes back to, it's probably New York or wherever, to find his gal, but his gal has dumped him. Said like, oh, I just realized I do not want to be the wife of some guy who is working his entire life in the Amazon jungle. See you later, sucker. He's getting drunk. Constance Bennett, who's an entertainer at this bar, kind of takes pity on him. She gets her guys to take him up to his room. He drops his wallet. She holds on to it for him. The next morning, he gets up and goes, "Oh, someone took all my money. God damn it!" And they got to get to the ship, so they go to the ship to get back to the Amazon. And at which point, Constance Bennett gets confronted by a detective who's been looking for her. She is wanted by the law. She hasn't murdered anyone, spoiler, but she manages to get away from the detective and jumps on board the ship and makes a deal with Jeffrey Lynn's character. It's Convoy. Convoy. I'm probably going to say Jim. It's Jim Convoy. I'm going to probably say Conway because I happen to know a Jim. I knew a Jim Conway. So she makes a deal with him because apparently he'll just get made fun of horribly, and everyone will lose respect for him, especially the natives. There is a lot of stereotypical South American people in this film. It's actors doing their job, but it's a lot of kind of, oh, si senor, kind of Pablo. He's got a sidekick guy who is a Tito, who is always being wacky and silly and is kind of dumb, which is not great. But yeah, he makes a deal with her for $500. She'll just be his wife for three months, and which is great for her because she might need it for a lawyer, and she also needs it. She also just needs someplace to hide away. So she takes them back, and we get into this whole the other subplot of this, which is the business subplot. And indeed, it opened with a heartless industrialist complaining that this rubber plant down in the Amazon was not cranking out enough. It's like it's been doing well, but it hasn't been doing good enough. And it's kind of rumbling in the background. Jim has come up with some kind of a new process to help treat rubber. They, of course, have attempted to steal it as he wants. It should be called the Conway process, but they want to call it the King process because that's the company and the name of the company, Alfred King Sr., who's got a bratty son who says like, "Oh, you're being too soft to him. You need to work him to death," and kind of all this sort of stuff. Yes, they fire the kindly old head of the thing. He ends up committing suicide because of it. Drama. They've come down and like, "Oh, I'm going to put my son in charge. Does your son know anything about rubber? Nothing at all, but he'll pick it up. You'll show him." It's like, "The hell I will." And he kind of punches him. And so Constance Bennett hears about this, and it's like, she's like, "Oh, I'm probably going to need take off pretty soon. But she goes down and talks to the senior guy, saying like, well, actually, the convoy, he'll just take the convoy process with him. It was like, no, it's the King process. Well, when he was in New York, I actually registered it as the Conway process. So you probably you'll have to, bid for it like everybody else will. And he's like, oh, we made a mistake, and they put him in charge of the thing. And we never see the bratty son who Jim got into a whole fist fight with obvious stunt doubles earlier. It's kind of it's taken care of in a fairly unrealistic way. And like, was she bullshitting there, or did she actually do that? She seemed to be bullshitting there, but you would think someone as ruthless and as kind of hard-minded as King, the senior, would most definitely have just, would have checked the story and then just tossed them out on their ass like he was going to. So it's like, oh, we're going to live happily ever after. But then the detective shows up, and there's a dramatic scene where it's like she's going to get taken away, and he's like, oh no, I'm going to protest. And she's like, she just pretends like, oh no, I was playing you for a sap. She's really good at, hey, I'm a tough broad dame here. And she's Constance Bennett is good at doing that, as well as kind of the softer scenes. She's really good at both. And she has this big dramatic scene in front of him and all his friends, which would be like, okay, you're really going to humiliate him in front of all the quote natives here. But he doesn't, and the friends like, oh, of course we didn't believe you. You're really doing a great thing for Jim here. And she's like, oh well, that's it. I guess it's done. And she goes to go in board the steamship that's going to take her up, the paddleboard ship that's going to take her up. And there's Jim saying, you didn't think I believed you, did I? Did you? It's like, oh, I was hoping you wouldn't believe me. And then they kiss and the music swells and it's a happy ever after. Other than, she's going to get convicted and sent away for, 20 to life for apparently not ratting out somebody or something like that. It's kind of unclear what that story is. They're not really too specific on her crimes, other than it was like she just knew the wrong person kind of thing. It wasn't like she was a bad person. So it's got a lot of the melodrama. I kind of enjoy it. It's nothing that particularly holds up particularly well. I shudder to think of what the real conditions for a rubber plant in South America run by a heartless American corporation were in South America, South America, or in China. I just shudder to think, but I also shudder to think. As far as racisms go, I'm sure the racism towards Asian people would have been even worse than the racism that they're showing towards people of of South America. So yeah, but she does a good job here. I mean, I do. I'm still yearning for I think a good number of the movies. I have another, like I think it's a 1948 movie is the next one I'm watching, which is Smart Woman, where she's playing a lawyer, which is apparently, it says in the credits, it's a Constance Bennett production. So it's like, did she have to put her own money in to actually get this thing off the ground? Because she was aging out of being the starlet. So that'll be interesting. But she's playing a lawyer in this one, which is kind of cool. I don't think she's gotten to do too many kind of upper professional people in her movies yet. So we'll see that. But then we've got a bunch of 1930s Constance Bennett movies, which it's probably my sweet spot of pre-code movies where she gets to be bad and not particularly get punished for it horribly at the end. I really enjoy those movies. So yeah, that is that Law of the Tropics with 1941, directed by Ray Enright, who he directed 73 films between 1927 and 1953, many of them for Warner Brothers. He was, died of a heart attack at the age of 69. Let's see if there's anything here. And you know what? They're probably all movies I've never heard of. There's Law of the Tropics right in. Oh God, he goes on to the next movie he does is Wild Bill Hickok Rides, which I watched, which I did not enjoy as much, which is the other Constance Bennett movie, which was, but apparently she must have worked with him. And yeah, his last movie was The Man from Cairo, with George Raft. Yes, who who, yeah. So it's interesting to watch these old movies and to recognize names and such like that. I've been babbling. I will leave it there. More videos later.